Good evening, everyone. Good morning, Amataku. I'm Manish, and today I'll be presenting my final review for the dashboard that I've prepared for the human resource attrition analysis. Let me just give an overview with regards to the data that's present. So we have a data with a target column, which is attrition. So basically what we're trying to understand is how much of the attrition that's caused within the company is caused by certain factors that are present. So we have a lot of data that's here, like department, business travel, education, whether they're married, single, divorced. So we're trying to basically understand through this data, what are the causal factors behind the attrition that's present within the company. So it's definitely not like a normal dashboard where we're trying to understand KPIs where we have like certain targets to reach, etc., etc. So the general summary of the data that's present is that we have 1,470 employees which exist, and around which out of which 237 have left the company, which is an attrition rate of 16 point. It's something like 16 point something percent. So this is our current employee count. And so basically what we're trying to understand is what causes that. So let's first try to understand what is the data that's present before we try to understand what kind of causal factors are causing the attrition that exists. So here I have divided whatever factors exist into several categories, which is demographics, financial factors, and tenure. So here within demographics, we have the age ranges that are present, which range all the way from 18, which is the legal age for working, up to 60, which is retirement. So from this, we can realize that most of the people who work within the company are like uh, between the age ranges of 30 to 49. And what we can understand through this is that likely when we're going through it, going through the attrition rate, that this column will likely affect attrition a lot more than the other columns which are present. And we can also see um, that the employees within the company or the employee count within the company is skewed towards males, which, as we see here, about 60% of the employees that exist within the company were males and only 40% were females. And we can also divide the data that exists based on several education fields that we have present within the data, which starts from human resources, life sciences, etc. Out of which I believe human resources has the second highest value, which is 27, and life sciences has the yeah, the highest value, which is 606. So there's several things we can look into and understand how the data is distributed. So that's the main objective of this. And we also see here that human resources, research and development, and sales are the departments that exist within the company. And out of which I believe research and development is the largest. Here you can see through this graph, which is present. If I can have a moment. Yep. Out of which research and development has the highest share among the employees that exist. Then we can also look into the financial factors to understand the incentives that are present within the company to see how much each employee gets paid, though we cannot specify each employee's separate pay. We can divide them by ranges that exist. For example, I have selected 0 to 5K. No currency was mentioned, so I abstained from using rupees as a currency. It might be dollars, it might be yen, anything. So we have here 0 to 5K, 5 to 10K, and 10 to 15K, and 15 to 20K. From this, we can understand that most of the employees working here are working on a mid-range basis because most of them tend to get paid between 0 and 10K, according to the distribution that's present here. And we can also see that most of the employees here get a very small financial salary hike, which is 10 to 15%, as we can see in this graph. Then tenure. Tenure refers to the experience or the experience within the company that the employee has and how long they've been working. So we see a tenure range between 0 to up to 40 years, but I believe that any tenure range above 20 years is very rare. So hence I had grouped all of them from 20 to 40 within uh, a range of 20 plus. And here again, we see that most people tend to work between 0 to 10 years. And we'll also see later the attrition rate that is associated with the tenure of people who exist. And we have several other factors, which is years in current role, years in with current manager, etc., etc. And these ranges go from 0 to 18. And again, as we see, like a lot of people end up working like 0 years, 1 year, but very few people end up working up to like 15, 16, 17, 18 years, which is like 2, 4, etc., etc. Any questions with regards to the distribution that's present?
No, it's good, Manish. We can continue.
Yeah. Um, so I'll start the analysis. Once we have understood the distribution that exists, we are more well equipped to understand the analysis. And yeah, so here again, I do keep the summary always up because since we do not have any KPIs, I think the summary that exists above is a good indicator of understanding as to how the company is doing, how much attrition is taking place, etc., etc. So here we have employee fulfillment. So basically what we're trying to understand through this is how much the factor of the employee's satisfaction affects their job and whether they're going to leave the company. So we can see a very clear trend here, which is attrition by satisfaction, which we have two satisfactions present within the data that we had, which was environment satisfaction and job satisfaction. And we see a very clear trend that both of them tend to slope down as our satisfaction increases. So here we see that our job satisfaction and environment satisfaction are increasing, and attrition rate, which is associated with it, is decreasing. You can also see it here very clearly. Uh, if we consider job involvement, which is a factor, present, we see that people who have a job involvement of 1 tend to leave the company way more than people who have job involvement of 4. This indicates that the company has a little bit of an issue when it comes to probably freshers who are working within the company and not able to understand what they're doing. And not getting them involved very clearly makes an issue from their end because they might feel like they're not understanding what is going on within the company. And this lack of involvement might lead to attrition. And we can also select other factors, which is job satisfaction. Again, we see a very clear trend that as job satisfaction increases, the attrition, which is this dark color present here, goes down. It goes down all the way from 22% to 11%. And here we have the total employees that exist within the company, which goes up from 77% to 88%. We can also select another factor, which is, sorry, environment satisfaction. Again, we see the same trend as environment satisfaction increases. We see that the uh, trend goes up, which is like, sorry, trend goes down, which is attrition goes down as we see here. The main reason I have chosen to not put separate graphs for each of them is because I believe redundancy is an issue. And I think that seeing that all the graphs within the same visualization tends to help people more with regards to understanding what data is present. Next, I have also divided them upon the emotional factors that are present and the demographic factors. We also have certain factors like marital status, relationship satisfaction, and work-life balance. These are factors that tend to affect like the employees. They're towards the employee side because generally the employer cannot control the person's marital status, obviously. So it's like we see here by this graph that single people are way more likely to leave the company as you see the distance between these graphs, and married people come next and divorced people have the least attrition rate. This might be because single people currently do not have that kind of responsibility holding them down, and they are available to try it out of the company and search for better opportunities. And again, none of the 18 to 19-year-olds are married, so that's why this graph starts from here. Um, yeah, and as we see again, a very clear trend with this as well, that as age goes up, people tend to attract way less out of the company. We can also select it here, like if we look through this, let me just solve this axis. Yeah, no, yeah, we can see here again that about 58% of people within the age range of 18 to 19 tend to leave the company, which is 7 out of 10. Now, this is again important as people hiring within this age range are way more likely because they're likely freshers who are going to leave within a year or two. So again, We see this clear trend that is also supported by this graph, which is solely showing the age range and the attrition based on that. Another very surprising find, according to this analysis, is that though men are more likely to attract out of the company than women, the trend is not as clear. It's only a 3% difference, and I believe that is not conclusive evidence that men will leave the company way more than women. It might be a coincidence. It might be other factors affecting it, but the trend does not support it as expected. Like people expect like men to leave the company way more, or maybe women to leave the company, but yeah, no trend exists here. Again, I have also distributed them based on geographical factors, which is mainly like since we do not have any map data present within this data set, we only we have only been provided data with regards to like how much distance the person is from the office or from the home. Or so this data again has a very clear trend where we see that as um, the distance from your office increases, you're way more likely to leave the company. We see it go up from 13% all the way up to 22%. So this might be an issue for the company as people who are living further away. Again, we see like 22%. It's a rather big number, especially compared to our average attrition, which is only 16%. And yeah, again, business travel also tends to affect attrition as we see that people who do not travel or have job roles that do not require travel tend to attract way less out of the company. So this trend goes from about 8% to 24%. Um, I'll go to the next page, which is analysis based on financials and departmental factors. So here um, we see that monthly income range, though has a trend, it's not that big. It goes from 21% to 3%. So the trend is there. Uh, but within this range itself, the trend is very weak. We see that it goes up and then it goes down again. We're not sure as to what factors affect that. The data might be incomplete and we might have to look more into, or maybe we'll have to ask the data engineer as to what else we are missing within the data. Again, these are also factors: hourly income, monthly income, salary hike. So I've decided to put them in ranges like from 10 to 15%, 0 to 5K, and 30 to 40. Again, I did not mean to put rupees. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. The most surprising thing is that an hourly income rate does not have a clear trend. Again, there is a very slight increase from about 50 to 60 to 100 rupees, but there's a very sudden dip that comes right after that. This might be because people who are working at the company might feel unsatisfied with their pay. Even though it's very high, they might be like, we can probably get better opportunities outside. Next, let's also observe the departmental factors, like which department has the greatest attrition and what is the which job roles within them have the greatest attrition. So if here we see that the average attrition is 16.12%, and if we uh, sort them based on the department, we again see that sales has the highest with a whopping 20.63% attrition. Human resources has 19.05, and research and development has the least among them. And again, within sales, we see that job roles like sales representatives, which are way lower on the career ladder, tend to attract more out of the company than managers, which are only 5%. Human resources has only one department job role within it, which is only human resources. That's why nothing really changes within that. And research and development has two-way job roles. And again, here also we see laboratory technician tend to leave way more. Again, the job role tends to be lower on the career ladder. If we also sort them based on the job level which is present, which is ranged from 1 to 5, we see that most of the times within all of them, people with job level 1 tend to leave the company way more. Here we see 42%, here we see 23%. Only within human resources, we see the trend where like job level 3 is attracting out of the company more. Here we have certain educational factors that I've also taken into consideration. We see that people who have studied uh, lower or their education level is lower, as said by the data, tend to attract out of the company more than people who have a greater education level. We can also sort this by education field that exists, and we see that human resources has the highest attrition, which is human resources, the study field, not the department. And we can also base this data on the employee experience that exists. And we also see that as employee experience increases, attrition decreases. It goes from 29% to 12%. We see this trend go down, like we see it go from 6.9% to 12%. This might likely be because this part also consists of people who've been working for 30 years, 40 years. So they might be leaving the company or they might be retiring soon. So that's probably why this trend goes down again. Next, we have employee appraisal. So here we have a lot of things taken into consideration, starting from years since last promotion, salary hike range, training times last year, years with current manager, and years within the current role. Here we see a very clear trend. We see that people who have been trained more within the company and have been provided the resources tend to attract less. We see the graph go from 27% to 9%. And again, we also see this a similar graph for salary hike. We see that people who have a higher salary hike range tend to leave the company less. Not by much. It's very small trend. Actually, I have shown it here, I think. Yeah, this is a very surprising trend that salary hike ranges don't tend to affect attrition as much as we thought. Like there's a difference of maybe 1%, not more than that. And that's rather surprising. This revelation, I guess, that we came across while we were working on it. And yeah, we also see that years since last promotion does not have a very clear trend. We do see it go down and go up as well. So we were not able to provide any conclusive evidence as to what might be affecting these factors. And years with current manager tends to affect way more, which is that people who have been working more with their manager tend to attract less out of the company. And here the trend goes up. This is because of the fact that statistics can be used very well to lie about a lot of things. Here we see that the total employee count is three, and out of which two people left. That's a very small number, but it counts a lot when it comes to the average or within the percentages that we're counting. But here we see that 31 people left the company, but it does not count for as much. So in an overview, we see that our attrition is about 16.12%, and we have looked into a lot of factors that are present. We have gone through the demographics, we have gone through their marital status, we have gone through their finances, etc., etc. And this is a very long report. It's not worth reading. And the suggestions I can make towards the company as a whole and trying to understand what they might want to do better is to improve their job involvement and satisfaction. So mainly trying to make sure that people who are working within the company are satisfied and are able to work better and are getting involved properly within their roles. Mainly because we see a very stark trend present within that graph, and this will likely affect a lot more than other factors that might exist. Then we can also see that a lot of people within the age range of around, uh, right, we also see that a lot of people within the age range of 18 to, yeah, we see that a lot of people within the age range of 18 to 30, around 29, tend to attract way more out of the company. So it would be better to focus on them, provide them training, give them better incentive to stay back at the company. They're freshers. We understand that they might not stay for that long, but at least an attempt should be made from the organization's side to stop them from leaving the company. And we have some other factors like enhancing retention in high risk departments. So we see that certain departments like sales are way more likely to attract out of the company, and there might be more people leaving. So we should focus more on them and try to understand what their issues is and why they're leaving the company. And we should also obviously focus on why people with lower job levels are leaving more than people with higher job levels. And addressing geographic distance is rather difficult for any company, obviously, but again, we might provide them transportation in lieu of their distance, and we might provide them extra times or flexible work hours, etc., etc. And we should obviously invest into the education and skill development of the employees that exist, as we see that the training times tend to affect a lot more than we expected. So investing into their education or into their skill set would be a great idea. And promoting loyalty, that comes with any company. People who tend to stay longer get more benefits, they get higher salaries, etc., etc. So yeah, those are mainly the suggestions I can provide the organization and all the analysis I have gone through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manish. Actually, I have seen this dashboard, so I would like Amartya to speak something about this.
No, I am certainly very impressed, Manish, from your project work. Uh, Dashboard itself, you have used all the variables to relate or connect them with attrition and try to give you analysis. So extremely impressed with your detailed analysis for each and every variable, and you have shown how you have pretty nicely presented also through the dashboard. And one of the very important things that came up also in your suggestions, and where we have a very strong correlation, is the job satisfaction and the job involvement part, the engagement, which we also call as engagement. So those are, which clearly from data itself is very evident that there is a strong correlation between there. So when you're doing this analysis and presenting it clearly from the graph itself, we can make it very conclusive that yes, those are the factors which are clearly impacting the attrition of employees in the organization. So as an additional thing, what you can do is you can also calculate the correlation between them, and you
Mhm.
can mention that also here when we are talking about it. On the graph, it's very
Mhm.
clear, but give it even more, you'll see when you calculate correlation between them, it will come out to be very strong. So it will further add more impetus to what you're saying. So you can do that.
Yes, yes, that's
But
true.
otherwise, overall, excellent, excellent, very good presentation, very good analysis. I really like the detailed analysis of each and every factor you have picked up and compared it with attrition and tried to come up with conclusive insights out of it. So well done. And no, just keep working, do more projects, and then that will improve the dashboard part of things. I think the analysis was excellent, but dashboard,
Mhm.
as you do more projects, you will see that dashboard will start getting more and more like at a professional level. So this is just the beginning, your first innings in working with Power BI and business intelligence. So that aspect of it, if you want to improve that area, I would just suggest you to keep working on more and more projects. But in terms of detailed analysis, I'm pretty confident that you have a strong eye for data and you will make it very big when it comes to in the space of data analytics.